My name is Sarah Woodbury. I'm here today with my husband Dan to talk about King Edward's Iron Ring of Castles.
So, Iron Ring sounds pretty ominous. Why would it be called an Iron Ring?
Well, it was pretty ominous to the Welsh. Edward built his Iron Ring of Castles as a chain of fortifications surrounding North Wales, beginning after the 1277 war that Llywelyn lost to England. The first initial castles were Flint, Rhuddlan, Aberystwyth, and Builth, Builth Wells, with the addition of Hawarden, built sometime between 1277 and 1282. It was Hawarden, in fact, which was the castle that Dafydd ap Griffith, Llywelyn's brother, attacked on Palm Sunday, 1282, to start the 1282 war. And this was a coordinated attack not only against Hawarden, but also against Flint and Aberystwyth on the same day. After the defeat of Llywelyn in 1282 and his death, Edward began then building more castles.
So you've talked about there were 4 initial castles that were built, and then Hawarden was the 5th, and then 6 more that make 11. What were those 11 castles now?
They were Chirk, Hawarden, Flint, Denbigh, Rhuddlan, Conwy, Beaumaris, Carnarvon, Harlech, Aberystwyth, and Builth.
Although there's not a definitive list of...
Right, so some other castles could be included.
Okay. And actually, if you look at that, you can really see how it encircles Gwynedd.
That's right, and the purpose of the castles was to contain and control the populace of North Wales in particular. The reason for this is that Gwynedd had been the seat of rebellion against Edward and England for 2 centuries. So Edward built most of his castles on the lowlands or on the water, for good reason. One, they can be fortified from the sea or from England. Building in Snowdonia was far more challenging. Each of these castles is located in such a way that they can be a jumping off point for marching inland in case of rebellion. An additional feature of this conquest as well, which we talked about last week, was that each of these castles had a town attached, a walled community, in fact, populated by English settlers, all part of Edward's vision of conquest of Wales.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about that, it's covered extensively in last week's video.
That's right. Many of the castles begun after the end of the war in 1282 were the work of master architect James of St. George, whom Edward brought from Gascony to England to build specifically for this reason. He had admired his work in France earlier. The jewel in the crown of the Iron Ring was Carnarvon Castle, which Edward wanted as his seat in North Wales.
So wait a second. Is it a ring, a chain, or a crown? I'm confused now.
Whatever it is, it was encircling Gwynedd.
Okay.
He, in fact, had his son Edward II born at Carnarvon in 1284. Later, he named him Prince of Wales, deliberately saying there will no longer be a native Welsh Prince of Wales, and since then, all of the princes of Wales have been the sons of the English king. The last 2 castles built were Chirk and Beaumaris, both starting in 1295 after the rebellion of Madog ap Llywelyn. Beaumaris in particular was never completed. Actually, most of the Iron Ring was not completed, but Beaumaris in particular, if you go there, is a bit stubby, with a third of the towers not actually rising. The reason for this was actually because the Iron Ring did exactly what it was supposed to do. It controlled the Welsh population, limited the rebellions, and eventually by 1330, when work on Beaumaris stopped, these castles were really no longer needed. 4 of the castles, Harlech, Conwy, Carnarvon, and Beaumaris, are World Heritage Sites. Though they were initially built as symbols of oppression and conquest, they are now controlled by Cadw, the Welsh Historical Society, and you can go there today to learn about this period in Welsh history. Next week, we're going to talk about Conwy Castle and its role in Edward's conquest of Wales. If you like this video, click on the playlist or subscribe to my channel. There'll be a new video next week. And if you want to check out my books, click on the link to my webpage.